Now in his third full season in charge, can Mikel Arteta lead Arsenal to the Champions League? The club has been one of the Premier League's biggest spenders in recent years, and that is no different this summer, with Gabriel Jesus' 50 million arrival from Manchester City. And 2 matches into the season, he has impressed, showcasing a compelling combination of both tenacity and skill. He already has 2 goals to his name. Zinchenko also saw the transfer from Man City, just about 30 million for this deal, and I think it's going to be real interesting to see who ends up getting more minutes, him or Arsenal's previous starting left back Kieran Tierney. Fabio Vieira has a few years of experience playing at Portugal's highest level, and I'm keen to see how his time at Porto will translate over to the Premier League in what was another 30 million move. Matt Turner's transfer from the Revs in MLS has received mixed feedback. While it's going to take time to see how it plays out, I'm excited to see what he can do on the club level for Arsenal and for the US men's national team as we head into an ever important World Cup year. I don't think many changes are needed to Mikel Arteta's first team starting 11, but one area that there is still some transfer rumors buzzing around is in the midfield. Talks are still ongoing with Leicester City regarding the transfer of Youri Tielemans, reportedly available on a fee around 35 million. If you're asking me, I think Arsenal need to act quickly on this deal, because if they continue to wait, Leicester very well could lose more of their first team players. And if that happens, either the price for Tielemans is going to go up, similar to what we had to pay in this rebuild, or he won't be available on a transfer at all. As we review some of these board objectives, I quickly want to talk about some of the characteristics that I think set Arteta apart. The first being his success in cup finals. He won the FA Cup in his first season as manager. Although they fell just short of qualifying for Champions League football, the Europa League will present a good opportunity. Our group for this rebuild will consist of Lazio, Legia Warsaw, and Finn Harps. But you know we had to cover it at some point, with Arsenal being one of, if not the Premier League's youngest club. We've got to add a homegrown talent to this rebuild. Connor Myers, an English center mid / center attacking mid, already an overall of 72, but after checking in each position, that cam spot is what's going to be best for him. He's good enough to be promoted right away, but because we already have some other center attacking mids, the best course of action, at least in my opinion, is to send him out on loan. The only club willing to take on that loan spell was Liverpool. We'll keep on searching for some more talent though, starting with a 5-star scout in England. He will be staying here for 9 months, searching for any type of player. And I figured because we're not going to make any additional signings, we may as well use some more of this budget to add another 5-star scout. He will be going to Arteta's home country of Spain. This also being a very popular country for Arsenal's youth academy. Cesc Fabregas is another name that immediately comes to mind. After 2 to 3 seasons of building out his squad and a little bit of help from us, we have an impressive starting 11 as we embark on our Premier League journey. The aim for us will be to help the club take that step up to Champions League football. So checking on these results in January is going to be so important. We've done extremely well. Currently second place in the league and not far behind Liverpool, who sit top of the table. And in the Europa League, it was always going to be some close competition with Lazio, but we do end up on top, equal on points and goal differential, but advancing due to our head-to-head fixtures. The change though at the left back position is going to be Tierney coming in. He has performed extremely well, but that starting spot is not a given as he continues to compete with Zinchenko. I had some high hopes heading into the knockout stages of Europa League, but those hopes quickly started to diminish as our opponent in the round of 16 was Manchester City. Just some bad luck with them finishing 3rd in their group stage of Champions League, and to make matters worse, we're also going to be missing Youri Tielemans close to the end of the season, as he's got a broken toe injury that'll take 3 months to recover from. That means we're essentially going to return to our original starting 11, which still isn't bad, but we did lose our opening fixture to City 2-1. Saw a draw in the second leg, but that was not enough for us to advance in Europa League. So our focus now will be on this cup final against Manchester United. The FA Cup is a competition that Arteta has already won, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind winning twice. We've just about confirmed Champions League football for next season. United, on the other hand, are struggling. Europa League isn't even a guarantee, so this FA Cup will be a huge match for them. And as an added bonus, Tielemans has returned from his injury, so he's cleared to play in this final. You never really know what the path to the FA Cup final will look like. You always see a couple of surprise teams in the later stages. We have had a very difficult road to the final, having to get through Liverpool in the round of 16 and City in the semi-finals. But hopefully we can close out this competition with the victory and start this rebuild off on a pretty good note. A great chance to open things up just 4 minutes in and really not too many highlights in between. Just a change as we bring on Zinchenko for these final minutes, getting into extra times. Tielemans still going strong. Surprised to see that he actually featured as much as he did, but we do end up getting that go-ahead goal with Gabriel Jesus. Just a cheeky finish, and having watched the first 2 Premier League match days, what an exciting player he is for Arsenal, and he truly contributes something to the squad. I know he's going to contribute something to this rebuild, as Odegaard will lift his first trophy as club captain. A great moment for him. Little to our surprise, we'll take top 4, finishing 3rd in the Premier League. Liverpool in the top spots, and we're also going to keep track of Spurs, who finish 6th. So kind of swapping competitions, as they'll be in Europa League next season. As for the relegation spots, Brentford, Crystal Palace, and Bournemouth going down to the Championship. The promoted clubs will be Blackburn Rovers and Sheffield United. We saw an early exit in the Carabao Cup, losing in the 3rd round to Wolves, with the winners being Liverpool, a 3-0 victory against Chelsea in the final. Chelsea actually getting a little bit of redemption, winning the Champions League against Milan on penalties. Of course, we saw a round of 16 exit in the Europa League, with Napoli defeating City in the final. You'll love to see that. And Feyenoord will get the victory in the Conference League against Galatasaray 2-1. You get an idea of what he can contribute in the FA Cup final. Gabriel Jesus with the most goals scored, 29 from 49, with Bukayo Saka leading the way in assists, 14 from 48. He also was the only Premier League player to get into the double digits, 4 assists, and Connor Myers, our homegrown talent who is on loan at Liverpool, he got a taste for what it feels like to win the Premier League. We did end up promoting a couple of Youth Academy players, one of which was unsettled halfway through the season, so we had to promote Alexander Cummings halfway through the year. He is a 64 rated center back with good potential, 87 to 93. And then 2 other promoted players, Elliot Garrett, an English center attacking mid, ready at an overall of 61, 88 to 94 potential. And we've got Zachary Nash, a 56 rated striker with potential of 83 to 94. One important thing to note about him is that I think he's going to get a significant boost as a winger. We may not have met all of our board objectives, but I'm happy with how things went. Champions League qualification has been checked off, which was the most important thing. If you're enjoying the rebuild so far and think you'd want to watch more of this style of content in the future, subscribe to the channel. We have just passed 70,000 subscribers. Shout out to all of you for the support you've shown this FIFA. But as we head into Season 2, one of my big priorities will be to give minutes to Connor Myers. Still has that potential to be special status, and with all the competitions we're involved in, I'm sure he can get enough minutes. For board expectations, it's going to be a lot of similar stuff to last year. The major change is that we need to sign one of the best players in the world, which apparently the minimum overall for that is an 82. But an uptick in our domestic success objective, we need to win the Premier League, win the FA Cup, and as for Champions League, we need to reach the final. Things could have certainly been worse for the group stage. Napoli and PSV are both quality opponents. Can't say I know too much about Ferencvárosi, but we'll see what happens. And to my surprise, our transfer budget actually has seen an increase despite us not letting a lot of players leave. I suppose that's what Champions League brings to the table, as we look to sign one of those best players in the world. Since moving away from Lyon, Amine Gouiri has had 2 solid seasons with Nice, both years getting into the double digits for goals. And considering Arsenal has had a lot of prior success in signing strikers or wingers from Ligue 1, I think there's a good chance we can keep that going. Ultimately agreeing to a 50 million fee for Gouiri, it isn't too much more than his evaluation and a good backup striker for us. It's also going to help our manager rating get out of the red as we look to make some more signings, and it's going to be another squad rotational player. Ibrahim Sangare has been linked with a few Premier League clubs in this summer's transfer window. Another player from Ligue 1, he has seen his evaluation soar during his time at PSV after they had a very successful European campaign in the Conference League last season. A slightly lower fee of 40 million for this deal, so that's going to put our current total net spend at about 90 million. And again, slightly higher than the player's evaluation, but a needed addition to the team. There are a lot of Arsenal players that are either out on loan right now or just returned from their loan spell. Hector Bellerin being one of them. And while he is a long-time player at Arsenal, he has recently felt like he needed a change in his career. That's part of the reason he went back to Spain and joined with Real Betis, the club that his father supports. Ainsley Maitland-Niles just hasn't gotten the minutes he's wanted for Arsenal, so I think a Premier League move to West Ham makes sense as he leaves for 13 million. It's still early days for Tavares, but with Zinchenko's arrival, we don't really need the competition at left back, so I decided to agree to this Osasuna offer for 10 million. I think it's a similar story for Mari. We already have so much center back competition, so I accepted this offer for Monaco. One other transfer that is going to be finalized upon the start of the January window is Granit Xhaka. He's had a very eventful time at Arsenal, even captaining the club for a while, but it's time for him to move on as we have other competition at center defensive mid. Because we saw so many of those players leaving, I felt like making one more arrival. Norwich has stayed in the championship in this save, and Max Aarons is actually someone that Arsenal is linked with and has been the last few transfer windows. Of course, a young English right back. He's going to give us both potential for the future and cover in case there is an injury for the likes of Tomiyasu or Ben White. 15 million for this deal. Can't complain about that at all. But we've got a very difficult month of August ahead as we try to find some success in the Premier League. Still staying with the same formation and, for the most part, the same players. One thing to know is we actually participated in the FA Community Shield to kick off the season against last year's Premier League winners, Liverpool, defeating them on penalties. So we're going to add a trophy right away, and we'll see if we can carry forward some of that momentum into January. We are again right in the running for the top spot in the Premier League, but it's Everton that have gone unbeaten so far. Certainly not the team I would have thought of going invincible halfway through the year, but there's obviously still a lot of time left. We also managed to top our Champions League group, I think finishing with even more points than we had in the Europa League last season. And it seems like every time we check back in on our squad, all of our players have gone up 1 or 2 in their overall rating. But we'll go right into the round of 16 of the Champions League, starting with a fixture against Leverkusen, who have signed Alain Saint-Maximin. Not sure about that move considering they already have a French left midfielder in Moussa Diaby. But that signing didn't seem to help them too much as we opened up the knockout stage with a 1-0 victory and then saw a 2-1 win in the second leg. That'll match us up against last year's Champions League winners Chelsea in the quarterfinals. They have signed another Serie A center back in Stefan de Vrij. Timo Werner still at the club in this save despite his move to Leipzig IRL, but a 1-1 draw in the first leg and a 2-0 victory in the second leg means that we will face PSG in the semifinals. They have pulled off a pretty big transfer in their own right with Renato Sanchez's arrival, but we ended up putting a lot of goals past them. 4-2 in the opening fixture, another high-scoring affair in the second leg, but we will be advancing 7-5 on aggregate. And it's a match against Liverpool for the Champions League title. I think it's fitting considering both us and Liverpool have been kind of the two top teams in the Premier League so far. If I'm being honest, Liverpool have been slightly better as they add a consecutive Premier League title. It's Leeds, Sheffield United, and Blackburn Rovers that will see relegation to the Championship, with West Brom and Crystal Palace getting promotion. A 5th round exit this time in the FA Cup, so we can't compete in that competition, with Chelsea defeating Liverpool in the final 3-1. Much better from us in the Carabao Cup, going all the way to the semifinals, but losing to West Ham on penalties. Everton may not have pulled off an invincible season, but they did see a victory in the Carabao Cup final. Benfica have ended their European drought all by being in the Europa League final with a victory against Roma on penalties, and Lyon will add some silverware in the Conference League final with a 2-1 victory against Aston Villa. As we get into these highlights, things went pretty much as expected. Liverpool going with a high-pressing play style, and its club captain, Jordan Henderson, that opens up the scoring in this Champions League final just 8 minutes in. We're going to see a swift response, though, and it's Smith Rowe that sets up Odegaard outside the box. How about that for a finesse shot effort on his weak foot? He is going to find the top right corner, and just like that, things are level. Tielemans going strong and playing a through ball to Bukayo Saka. He's trying to get that on his preferred left foot, and he will do so. Another finesse shot to the far post, and we are ahead. Just 15 minutes in, we've seen 3 goals in this fixture, and things are still going. Just a few moments later, in the 23rd minute, this is a questionable call. It ends up being a penalty kick against Fabinho. And while we're not going to see the perfect replay, it seemed like a late challenge, but the ball had already gone out of play. Kind of those 50-50 calls that went in our favor. That penalty kick was missed, though, as things were still 2-1. But Gabriel Jesus, just a few moments later, will give us a 3rd goal in this match. And this is kind of where the momentum turned around. Liverpool just sort of collapse. Mistakes out of the back from Alisson, passing it straight to Gabriel Jesus, who sort of puts this match out of reach as we get into the second 45 minutes. Making a change with Tielemans getting injured, it's Zinchenko that's going to play in the midfield, which, to be fair, is kind of what he's done for Arsenal so far in the 22-23 season, playing where needed at left back and also moving forward to the midfield. Gabriel Jesus with a really good half volley there, and Smith Rowe is going to set up Jesus for another one. I think that's 4 for him on the day, if I'm not mistaken. Not bad for one of their new signings, but 6 goals. It didn't stop Liverpool from trying to get one back, and it's Henderson who gets a second one for himself 72 minutes in. But at this stage, I was pretty much just trying to see out the rest of the match. We didn't need to see too many highlights in this Champions League final, in what very well could be the highest scoring fixture in the competition's history. Obviously, getting Arsenal back to the Champions League was a big priority for this rebuild. The fact we were able to win it in our first year back speaks a lot to the club's abilities and potential, but there's still more work to be done, especially in regards to the Premier League. Top goal scorers, that was shared between both Odegaard and Jesus, 25 goals across all competitions. Smith Rowe with the most assists, 18 from 56. A lot of future talents that we're going to check on the status of. Garrett has gone up +8 in his overall. Nash has seen a huge +19 increase, a lot of that coming from his position change to left winger. A relatively slow season for Myers, but I'm glad he managed to make the occasional appearance, going up +2 in his overall. And Cummings with a +6 to a 70 overall rating. Not too much of a change in our manager rating despite us winning the biggest cup competition in the world, but we'll push on for season 3. Given the success we've had so far, I like our chances moving forward in this rebuild. A lot of this is going to be us rebalancing the squad for season 3. Some players having too high of a squad role. Ben White has shifted to more of a rotational player, and I think he deserves first team minutes. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of our board expectations. We're trying to bring in younger players, not older players, to the squad. But again, high expectations for us to win the Premier League, win the FA Cup, and now we're looking to take the step up and repeat in the Champions League. Not sure what's up with us matching against PSV so often, but we've got them, Milan, and Malmo in the group stage. And for the transfer budget, no surprise, as we've seen another rise to 300 million, and that number is only going to go up. Benjamin White going to Wolves as they look to sign a new center back for the departure of Connor Cody. At least in regards to scoring goals, things have not worked out as well for Nicolas Pepe during his time at Arsenal, so we're going to let him move to another Premier League club, with Leicester City coming in and signing another one of our players. And I just couldn't seem to get a realistic offer for Rob Holding, so we let him leave to Sevilla for 15 million. A lot of our focus this summer will be signing players for the club's future. Our starting 11 needs no sort of improvements, so Ivan Illich is the exact type of player I'm looking to sign. A young talent, not exactly playing for a high-profile club with Hellas Verona, but certainly one for the future. Especially in the last 2 seasons, he is making consistent appearances for them. And while it is a big price tag of 40 million, with the right development, I think he can turn into a future first-team player for us. It's a very similar story for Pierre Hincapié. The Leverkusen center back is versatile enough to play also as a left back, and as he grows in experience, he is starting to earn more and more minutes for the club. I think we're signing him at the right time before his evaluation soars too far up. It's going to be a deal of 27.5 million, and now we have enough squad depth in case there is ever an injury across our back line. We're again going to see a tough start to our Premier League season with a match against Manchester City. Our starting 11, you should be familiar with the players by now. It is largely unchanged since season 1. And you might have already spotted it, but we started our season against Benfica in the UEFA Super Cup, scoring all 4 goals in the first half, courtesy of Tielemans, Odegaard, and Saka. This is probably the most important January transfer window because a lot of our emphasis this season will be on the league. And again, it's a battle between us and Liverpool for that top spot. We're just a single point behind them, which is arguably the best place we've been in all 3 seasons of this rebuild. We're also going to be advancing out of our Champions League group. Not the best points total, but fortunately points were pretty well distributed across all 4 teams. We've already signed the players we need for squad depth, so no changes needed to our starting 11. We'll get into the round of 16 with a match against Porto, who, to be fair, have started to lose a lot of their high potential players. We've even gone and signed Vieira, and maybe that has to do with some of these results. A 2-0 win in the opening fixture We lose the second leg, but we end up still advancing due to aggregate. And that means we'll play Inter in the quarterfinals. They have signed an Eredivisie talent with Cody Hakpo, who's up to an 85 overall, so definitely not an easy test. But we end up getting a 2-0 win at home and a 3-0 win away, 5-0 on aggregate. And it was fitting that we would have to play Liverpool in the semifinals. Speaking of Vieira, he scored the only goal in the first leg, and it's a 1-1 scoreline that required extra time. But Bukayo Saka scored the winning goal to see us through to back-to-back Champions League finals. It is Milan who will play in that Champions League final, but we'll check in prior to that. With 2 Premier League fixtures remaining, we have a chance of securing the league title. We just need a draw. Arsenal's last Premier League title came in 2004, so literally have been 20 years to the current point that we're at in this rebuild. A fitting way to potentially see an end to this episode, but it's Ramsdale that makes a mistake. He ended up getting gloves to this effort from Kai Havertz, but his reflexes were not quick enough to see that from going in. So we're going to start this match already with a deficit. And Chelsea, they were here to play. It's Conte that plays through, mounts a good finish on Ramsdale's near post. That is going to double the lead for them as things will continue. 30 minutes in, it's Timo Werner. Maybe it would have been better for him to have already left to Leipzig by the time I started this rebuild, but he ends up getting Chelsea the third goal. It's a 4th for Mason Mount. Certainly was not expecting this heading into the match. I was 100% looking forward to a title celebration at home. Martin Odegaard makes up for things a little bit with a free kick goal, probably the first one that we featured in all the rebuilds so far in FIFA 22. Hopefully that'll give us some confidence going into the final Premier League match day and the Champions League final. So it is Wolves that will play away from home on match day 38. A lot would need to go against us, both having to lose and lose by a good margin to see Chelsea recover in terms of their goal differential. While we were down at the break, we saw 2 goals from Saka and Jesus in the second half to see us through with a victory. And even if it's not at home, we will see another trophy celebration. Probably my favorite of the rebuild so far, as it is a 20th year anniversary from the last time Arsenal last won the Premier League. Here's a look at how things ended. Of course, we'll take that top spot with Chelsea, Liverpool, and Leicester City rounding out the top 4. Relegation zone going to QPR, Crystal Palace, and West Brom, who have struggled a lot in this rebuild. A surprise exit from us in the 6th round of the FA Cup to Millwall, with the final going to Liverpool, who defeat QPR. City knocked us out in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, going on to defeat Manchester United in the final 3-1. Europa League going to Wolfsburg as they defeat Chelsea 2-1. And Manchester City, not exactly sure why they're in Conference League, but they saw a victory against Hertha Berlin at 2-1. It's important to keep in mind that we started our season with a 4-0 victory against Benfica in the UEFA Super Cup. So if we can get a Champions League win as well, that would mean a treble winning season. But we'll check back on some either current or former Arsenal players, starting with a recent departure, Matteo Guendouzi, up to an 86 overall at Marseille. Ben White's rating hasn't changed much, an 83 at Wolves. Nicolas Pepe, an 82 overall with Leicester City, and another Leicester player with Hector Bellerin, 29 years old and an 80 overall. We've already had great success in England, but if we can close out this season with a victory in the Champions League, that would be perfect. Emil Smith-Rowe will start the highlights down the left side, looking for Gabriel Jesus in the center, just barely overpowering that cross, and Smith-Rowe also getting involved as he gets played through. Had to go to an offside check, and he was probably just a foot ahead of the Milan defender, but a great start for us as we move forward now to the second half. It's Tomori, who is, to be fair, probably quite familiar with Arsenal, having previously played for Chelsea, and it's a challenge that I thought was a good tackle. We'll take a look on the instant replay. He got ball first, still got carded for the effort, but the layoff pass goes to Tomiyasu, and this rebuild was just full of surprises and goals. Odegaard's free kick goal last season, and now our right back with a long-range effort to give us the opening goal in this Champions League final. Certainly worth a second look on the instant replay, and it's just a perfect effort from him, dipping below the crossbar and out of reach of the keeper's hands. Ended up being the only goal of this match, as we're going to close out this rebuild with another trophy celebration. There was something special about this Arsenal team. Let me know in the comments section if you think Mikel Arteta is capable of, and if so, how many seasons to win the Premier League or the Champions League with Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus will lead us in both the goals and assists category here in season 3. Hopefully you enjoyed my take on this Arsenal rebuild, and if so, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and of course leave a comment with suggestions as to what realistic rebuilds you'd like to see next.